Alright guys, welcome back. So FOMC event last night was pretty nothing burger, 25 basis points as expected, so we didn't get those tasty whipsaw bids filled, but that's okay. So the market's actually not reacting that badly so far. BTC is still pressuring into that resistance we discussed yesterday at 117k. We did see some legs up on things like Sol memes overnight. We saw SPX and Fartcoin, Pengu, things like that have really nice pumps. We saw the SEC approve a generic listing standard for crypto ETFs, meaning they can list without a full review process. Now, several altcoins already qualify for that, and we're seeing them get bid on the news, so we'll cover those later in the video. But before I do that, make sure to like and subscribe and hit the notification bell. And other than that, let's jump into it. All right, so first up, BTC, as discussed, is pressuring into that daily supply level at 117 to 118k. As I delineated yesterday with this lovely squiggle, we really want to see that level flipped. I think if we do that, then I'm going to target the range highs. I'm actually going to target this 121.7 level. Now, why so specific? If we flip across to the Kiyotaka heat map chart, so this is free software, link in the description if you want it. It basically just shows resting orders in the book, so you can see sort of where price is clustering. So up around this 121.7 level, we have this big cluster of limit sells waiting. You can also see if I flip back to the BTC chart, it lines up with this small high volume node over here. See this little peak at 121.7? So that's pretty much where I'm going to target for my longs that I'm already in from down here. But as you can see, we are pressuring into that range EQ right now. So those charts are just showing the same thing. This is the generic range low here. So if we switch to line chart, you can see the amount of respect this level has. You go back to the candlestick chart, you can see the supply level there. So, between those 2 points, there's a lot of confluence for a rejection here. Obviously we have this big high volume node over here as well on the VRVP. But if we do start breaking above that, 121.7 is my first target, then the range high is my second target. We start to accept above these range highs, then we're going to make new all-time high in no short time. Now, once again, if we do reject here, we're just looking for that pullback into the 112k level. We have this big daily demand down here. I think we start to lose that, then we continue somewhat of a downtrend and we can actually class this as a lower high. But for now, I'm remaining bullish because we have flipped the daily trend. Flicking over to ETH, we mentioned this yesterday, this H4 supply level over here. We are pressuring into it. We had a nice sweep overnight. So on the FOMC news, we actually swept those lows. I actually thought we might accept back below this range high here, so this 4,500 level, and rotate down, but we haven't. We've bounced up. So this SFP here, the sweep of the lows, is a good sign for that. Now we really just need to flip this 4,600 supply level. We can do that. We can target these local highs over here at 4,700. And if we start accepting above those, then I think all-time highs back on the cards quite quickly. But until that happens, really just looking for the line in the sand here at 4,600 to be flipped. What do I mean by flipped? I mean, we get above it and we accept above it. So we fail to push down any further. We see buyers step in here and they start pushing the price up. So Solana obviously came nowhere near our 220 pullback overnight, but that's fine. Still in our longs from 208 down here. Daily trend has been held. If we do get any sort of pullback into that level, I think it lines up with the daily trend. This is really where you want to be bidding, down at the 0.62 Fibonacci level as well. But for now, it's a very bullish reaction overnight. So if we switch to something like the 4-hour time frame here, you can see that reaction off the 4-hour Noodle. That was very strong. And this is why we saw Fartcoin, SPX, Pengu, things like that pump. Right now, still just that 252 weekly resistance up ahead. We get above that, and I think 300 is the next logical level. So I'll be holding my longs for there, but I will be taking some profit here if we get up here. So if I flip over to Discord, you can see our boy Fabian here, who is one of the best macro analysts I've ever come across. His read on the market is just phenomenal. So if you ever wanted to join the Miles High Club, I'd probably do it for him. Link in the description if you want to do that. So he says, looks like the SEC has just approved a generic listing standard for crypto ETFs, allowing them to get listed without going through a formal review process. It seems like the major criteria is having a futures contract listed on a regulated US exchange like CME or Coinbase for at least 6 months. See the image below for a list of crypto assets that currently meet this criteria. It should also pave the way for staked ETFs to go live quickly, hence why LDO and JTO have seen rallies overnight. So based on this list here that you can see, I actually created a watch list. Now, if we scan through that, we can see a lot of these coins have had quite a bit of strength so far. So we're going to start on AVAX. This thing has been pumping a lot. This is a very bullish setup. So this compression along the trend line, along the daily Noodle here, up into a resistance, and eventually it pops through. When I generally see this pattern in a bull market, I tend to long into resistance just because 9 out of 10 times it resolves to the upside. You can actually see I took a trade recently, if you follow my Twitter, on Eigen, because it did exactly the same pattern. So I was longing Eigen down here before it pushed up through, just because I knew it probably would based on the pattern and due to how the conditions were. You can see Eigen's already up give or take 30%. And that's just something I took on spot, looking to take profit much higher than this. But if we go back to AVAX, you can see that pattern. Now, I'm kind of just included the Eigen chart because I want you guys to internalize that pattern. If you see this sort of bullish wedge compressing into a key level with the trend supporting it, the money noodle, then you can generally rely on it going up. So based on this list, AVAX looking really good. LTC also looking good, but you can see the difference here. So a lot of things like AVAX were sort of grinding upwards into resistance. And you're seeing sort of these developing trend lines, diagonal breaks forming on things like LTC. So LTC is one to watch. I think it's going to have quite a decent breakout. BCH, you can obviously see it's just been grinding up the money noodle the whole way. This had a nice breakout overnight as well, just pushing up. So things like Doge, once again, the diagonal break. XLM, the diagonal is forming. Link, diagonal forming. HBAR, something I actually took a trade on in the Mars High Club earlier today. What I really like is we basically had this deviation under a key level. We reclaimed it, and at the same time as reclaiming it, we reclaimed the money noodle and also broke out of a key diagonal resistance. So I took a position on that, pretty much invalidated. We start closing back onto the pivot level, but basically just targeting this key high over here at 0.3. But this is one of my standard textbook setups that I always take. So I'm just sort of playing on this. It's a daily chart, so we're going to play a daily swing in it. But you know, if you see this setup, another one to internalize is quite good. ADA, once again, just forming that diagonal compression. XRP, obviously already broken out, but it's pretty much printing the same pattern that we saw on HBAR. So it's formed the pivot level, it's done the deviation under it, and now it's pushed up, reclaiming the trend, and also broken out the key resistance, also tagged to the diagonal resistance, and now pushing up. SHIB is the last one sort of monitoring, a fairly big diagonal forming, and you know, it's nowhere near it yet, so this one's late to catch a bid. But I think just these ETF candidates are ones you want to watch. So Fabian seems to think in the next, several weeks, we're going to see all of these start getting listed for ETFs. What does that mean? It just basically means institutional money can start flowing into our favorite Ponzi coins, which is, net bullish. Now I'm expecting a bullish Q4, but what I really want to see is we go back to the chart I shared in yesterday's video. We are just looking at inflated open interest on altcoins right now. So BTC in blue, ETH in green, others in orange. Back in March 2024, we saw others, so altcoins slightly push up in open interest above BTC, and after that had a fairly harsh sell-off. Then once again, we saw the same thing happen in December 2024, obviously leading to a big sell-off again. And right now we're coming to that pinch inflection zone. So what I really want to see is some of that open interest to get wiped out. Now, I think like over the next 1 to 2 weeks, it'd be great to see a massive flush on altcoins to really rinse some of that open interest out and to give us some good buying opportunities for a bullish Q4. I do think Q4 is going to be bullish based on how a lot of these charts are setting up, based on how BTC is looking, reclaiming key trends and breaking above key levels. But I just think I'd really like to see some sort of flush and a bit of a buying opportunity to have more credence and more sort of confidence in taking positions on those for bigger swings leading into Q4. So now that FOMC has passed, I think maybe we see a weekend rally, but it's really too early to say if momentum has been shown. Obviously, we're seeing a bit of a push up in Asia session, and we saw a bit of a push up after the FOMC news last night, but I just think it's a bit too early to call it yet. Asia session's been relatively dead today, but maybe in NY session tonight, we actually see the true market direction print, so keep an eye for that. That'll be a few hours after this video is posted. But other than that, I remain bullish, looking for flushes to get long at things, looking at compound positions, and I think we are sizing up for some nice moves in the next couple of weeks. Once again, thank you for joining. Make sure to like and subscribe, and I'll catch you guys in a few days. Cheers.